phases of the first family session, the joining phase, which is the first phase. And what was really very interesting to me was that it's very important in the joining phase for the therapist to connect with the family and feel comfortable in working with that family. So I had never really thought about that. I had thought all about making the family feel comfortable, which certainly is important, but that I had to, as a therapist, really be present in that session and have a comfort level with the family I was working with.
Another important piece about the joining phase is making eye contact with each family member and letting them know that they're going to have a time to speak.
An important concept of the joining phase is letting them know that you want to get a chance to know them and who they are outside of the problem and outside of why they might be coming to see you.
I am going to discuss the problem definition phase. There was a beautifully done role play in which I really took away the importance on remaining focused on the purpose, and as tempting as it is to avoid information that may sidetrack you, use the purpose to guide you.
And that, as in one of our readings, it said the crisis point could be the opportunity or the danger, and really we want to go with the opportunity to look at the multiple perspectives of each of the clients, but also possibilities that what the problem could be that we don't even know about yet.
To finish up talking about the problem definition, remembering that as the family therapist you are responsible to be grounded in remembering your purpose and being purposeful, really making sure to reconnect with each of the family members to summarize their problem definition in a way that helps them know that they have been heard, but also to reframe and bring out the hopes and strengths that you have heard from the family.
I think lots of people have spoken about the power of being attentive to what the purpose of a phase is, and that's also something that struck me specifically about the information gathering phase. Corky had some beautiful ways of asking questions, in particular gathering perspective by asking one family member what they think another one is trying to tell them.
Information gathering phase. Something that struck me was that everything that you do is a form of assessment and information gathering, not just the assessment phase.
Finishing up on the information gathering phase, one thing that struck me is that there are so many different paths and topics. Families are going to bring up so much information, and that you don't need to go down every single path, and it's figuring out how to pick and choose what kind of questions you're going to ask and depending on what kind of path you want to go down with that family.
What I learned from Corky was how you can really pick up on all the themes and all the concerns that people have, but reframe it in a more positive, non-blaming language so that it's not as linear as it was when they first came in, summarizing it in a way that the family can move forward and look at it differently. Another thing that I learned was when Liz also chimed in that you could do that in a more global way as well. Instead of honing in on everything that people said or the key points, you could summarize what place the family was in with this problem. That was helpful. So we got two different kinds of takes on how to frame, and it was quite powerful.
I'm also going to talk about reframing the problem in a systemic way. One thing that I really liked is just an example of a way to do that in a way that for me feels really natural, is to talk about the family's life phase and what phase of development their family is in, and to use that as a way to, instead of presenting the family which may see themselves as kind of dysfunctional, to say that previous ways of being that used to work are no longer working due to a transition or an adjustment that the family needs to make. And I found that reframing the problem that way to me sounded really normalizing and really non-blaming and made a lot of room for hope and optimism.
I'm back to the redefining the problem as well, and what was really striking for me is Corky facilitated the role play. Her style was to engage the different family members somewhat separately, and then Liz talked about how she would have seen the problem as a stage of family development, and then Caroline talked about how she would define more of a structure for the family. And for me, the three ways were interesting and striking in the fact that they all would have worked beautifully, and the family in the role play would have responded equally well to any of them.
I will talk about the contracting phase, which is the last phase of the model, and a very important one. I felt that it's like an art, because the therapist has to wrap the meeting by highlighting the goals of every family member as he or she perceived them. And we had a beautiful assignment where we had to listen to each other and try to perceive what the other is saying.
As Corky looked at each family member and summarized their expressed need. It was also important that she reframed it in a positive way for the family to come back. That's the hope, that they would have an idea of what they'd be working on.
What I am finding very fascinating about this class is the diversity in the class in terms of other class members' experience in life, what they are doing. I'm learning so much from their experience as a whole. What is most compelling is finding out about the history of family therapy, its applications, how it has shifted and changed.
What you just heard was an elegant summary of the work that we did yesterday.